Well, hello. Welcome to day 27 of our 30-day drawing adventure. I'm so glad you joined me, and we are going to continue our conversation and discussion about how to do drawings for outcome. So we're just going to talk through it. I'm going to give you all the things I know about drawing for outcome to hang on a wall or to give somebody or for a commission. These are all the things I've learned over time that help me produce something that is worthy of hanging on the wall. So I'm going to give you all these little tips and tricks that I can. Part 2 of yesterday, and let's just dig into that together today. Okay, so yesterday we talked about kind of preparing in preparation as far as the subject matter and what the size and all that's going to be. Once you have that all figured out, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to produce a photo that helps you as much as possible in doing your finished drawing. So there's a lot of translation that happens when you're drawing, right? We've been talking about this, translating for shortening and perspective and lighting and all these things. And if you're doing a drawing for outcome, then you want to take as much of that out as possible. You're just going to help yourself. It's only going to help yourself as you do this. So what you're going to actually do is you're going to produce a photo that does that. And whether you print this photo on a decent printer at home, or if you, one of the things I've learned is that like Walgreens does a great job of printing larger format uh, prints for you. So you can actually, save it as a JPEG or like a photo and send it to Walgreens. And within an hour, you can go pick up a print that is exactly the size and the way you want it. So that's a little hack there that you can get a great print. So what is this print? Well, let me tell you. The first thing is the exact same size of what you're going to do. We don't need to complicate this drawing by translating size. So if you're going to do a drawing that fits into an 8x10 frame, or it's an 8x10 kind of sized paper, uh, then do a photo of, enlarge or shrink or whatever, a photo of your subject that is that same size. So that's so you don't have to do the size translation. The next thing you're going to do is work on having the same edges. So you remember yesterday we talked about, is the drawing going to have hard edges where your graphite goes right to the edge of a square you're drawing, or is it going to kind of float uh, where there's not hard edges and you center whatever the edges of your drawing are in the middle of the paper? I would suggest you do the same thing for your photo that you are going to do for your drawing. So if it has a fade out edges, and I can throw some examples of these up on the screen for you, but if you're going to have kind of soft edges, I call it, versus hard edges, you can do that in a photo editing software. A lot of free software, whatever. I use Photoshop, but you can use a lot of different free softwares to kind of uh, fade out the edges, to draw a line around it and then select the edges and delete them in a soft way if that's what you want to do. The whole idea here is that you are producing a photo and printing it and working off of it that is essentially what you're going to draw. So then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to uh, get this image in a black and white format that that is very that's close to what you want to draw. Okay, so uh, what you're going to do first, if it's color, is you're going to desaturate it. Color tends to really mess with our view of value, and sometimes very different colors have the exact same value. So in a grayscale drawing with graphite or a pen or marker or whatever you're using, it's going to have the exact same, it's going to look the same in black and white in two very different colors. So that's something you have to consider and think about. So you're going to desaturate it. I usually mess with the levels and then the contrast. Very important that you get this photo looking how you want the drawing to look. So you want to get the lights, the whitest, lightest parts of the drawing to be light and bright, and the darks to be dark that are in it. So that's the full range of value. So the lightest lights to the darkest darks. And you want that to be uh, very evident in your drawing. That's going to make it pop. That's going to make it have uh, bright lights and dark darks. And that is really going to help your drawing like stand out. I've seen so many drawings that people do that are just kind of gray and they're kind of flat. And I mean, this might be partially a preference thing, but I think the drawings look best when they have some punch to them, both on the dark side and the bright side. So you want to do that to your photo. You want to kind of make it punch a little bit. And you can do that with contrast and levels and just play around, get used to it. Get that photo looking how you want your drawing to look. And then you're basically, when you print that, you're going to have a photo that's very close to what the draw you want the drawing to look like, albeit it's a printed photo, so it's a, you know, little dots made by a printer, not your wonderful careful drawing, uh, translating that. You basically want that to be the only thing you're translating. So now your size, everything just relates. You don't have to try to figure out how big the, you know, flower is or whatever's in your drawing, the sailboat or whatever. It's the same size. You can literally measure it and then measure on your drawing, measure the photo, measure your drawing, make sure it's the same size so that it just helps. You're going to have a hard enough time producing a beautiful drawing from that photo. You might as well take as many of the uh, factors and variables out of it that you can. All right, now that you have your photo and that's all set and you're ready to go, you need to have some consideration for the paper you're going to use. And we had a whole day where we talked about that. So you want to use a paper that you have worked with before and that you like and that you know how it works. And that's one of this kind of preparation thing. Like use a paper you know you like drawing on and that you're used to. That's one more variable you can take out of this whole process. Okay, now that you have your photo and you have your paper, let's talk a little bit about your workspace preparation. All right. I have drawn when I'm sketching and just drawing for process and practice. I don't really care about my workspace. I'll draw on the side of a riverbank in a coffee shop next to my coffee, often spilling on it or whatever. But when I'm doing something that is going to be a gift to someone or hang on a wall somewhere, I have to put another level of care into outcome on this. And this is a challenge for me because I'm kind of a messy person. And I don't want to give someone, you could ruin a beautiful drawing by a stain on it or just not being careful to make it look nice. And so put some thought and care into your workspace. Put your photo next to your paper. Get your paper ready. If it has hard edges, use a uh, delicate release tape, which that's just a masking tape that you can get at any hardware store that does not damage the surface that it's on. Typically, it's a color like green or purple or blue, and you tape off your space if it's going to have a hard edge. I wouldn't do this if it's not going to have a hard edge. If you have a soft edge, just let your drawing be the edges. But if you're going to go to a hard edge, it takes a lot of the work of where that edge is. It's just the edge of the tape. Also, you don't have to have a line as your hard edge. I think that that takes away even on a hard edge drawing, you don't really want a dark line going around the outside. Just let whatever is the content of your drawing go right to the edge and stop. So even if that's light or dark or whatever, it goes right to this kind of imaginary line. So when you pull the tape off, you have this beautiful square. That's my recommendation for a hard edge drawing. Use a delicate release tape and tape off your spot. And then you might want to put that same tape on your photo, or if your photo already, you just clipped it, cropped it to have a hard edge, you can do that too. But you can put tape on that too, just so that's exact same. Less translation, remember? Okay, now that you have that all set, you're going to begin your drawing and you're going to lay that out so that it sits in the right spot. So this would be with a really light uh, piece of graphite. Even if this is a pen drawing, I would use a very light graphite and lay out your drawing on your workspace so you know where everything is, so you know it's centered, so you know it fits, so you feel like it's accurate before you start filling in the graphite. Okay? And then you're going to have a plan for not making a mess of your drawing if it's graphite. If you're doing this with pen or a fine point marker, that usually dries fast enough as you're working that you don't have to worry about smearing it with your hand. But if you're using graphite, a big consideration of this thing looking good and your white staying white and bright is not smearing that graphite with your hand. And there's a couple different ways of doing this. One of the ways of doing this is to work like I do, top left to bottom right. So that would be like this for you. You're gonna you just force yourself to work your drawing that way. It's not you have your form kind of lightly laid out with and that light graphite, by the way, doesn't smear very easy. It's mostly like the mid grade, like HB and darker into the Bs that smear easy. The lighter stuff doesn't smear and blur and get on your hand as much. So you can do your layout with that. And then you're going to work your drawing across with the heavier graphite. So, whatever you need, whatever kind of graphite you need. That's what I do. Some people I know get a piece of vellum, which is like a very smooth, slippery, kind of partially see through paper, and they lay that across the drawing and they always put that under their hand. So they're drawing just to the side of it and then it's under their hand and that smooth surface of the vellum does not smear the graphite underneath. I found it still kind of does sometimes, especially if your hand's pressing on it and you're moving your hand at different times. I feel like it still wants to if you have some heavy graphite under there, it picks that up and kind of smears it. So I choose to just force myself. It's very difficult to get used to, but I just draw upper left to bottom right. And that's how the last thing I do is sign the drawing in the bottom right corner. And I've worked my thing all the way across. That's how, that's basically how I do that. And you're just going to go about your drawing. This is the prep you're going to do. The last thing you want to think about is how long do you think this is going to take you? And unless you're certain that it's going to be a one sitting, like you're just going to force yourself, I'm not going to bed until this is done. Uh, you want to have a plan for what you're going to do with this drawing to protect it until you come back to it. So if this is going to, you don't know how long this is going to take you and you're going to work at it for a while, you need to kind of, I would suggest you plan that way. Then you need to have a plan to put that thing inside of something that's not going to smear it. Put it somewhere where the cat or someone else is not going to mess with it or mess it up. Put it somewhere where you can safely work on it. Sometimes I'll have a folder, like a manila folder that I just sandwich it in carefully and put it in there, or a big pad of whatever paper I'm using and I'll leave it in there and close it. What you'd want to avoid is anything rubbing against that. And once this drawing is started, for the rest of its life, you're not going to want anything to rub against the surface of it. So, other than an eraser if you choose it, but that's pretty much the situation. You are not going to want anything to rub against the surface of this. So that includes when it's finished. So you're going to do this drawing, right? And so now when it's finished, I was taught years ago to use a fixative on my graphite so that it didn't smear once I did it. But guess what? I absolutely hate what the fixative did to my drawings as far as changing their look and flattening them, in my opinion. Now, maybe there's better fixatives out there now, and maybe you don't care how that affects your drawing, but I just want to warn you that I didn't like it. And so I've gotten in the habit of when I finish a drawing, that pretty much has to go into its final place, which is covered by glass, as soon as possible. Drawing, if it's graphite, is not the kind of thing that you want to put like an oil painting inside a frame and open to the air to touch. Uh, it's just some people cannot resist going up when they get, and you're really not supposed to do this with any piece of art, but going up and touching it to see if it's real. And an oil painting, that's not great for it over long periods of time, but for a graphite drawing, it's absolutely detrimental to it. You're going to smear that graphite, and it's just not. You need to protect it for someone and have it put into a frame. And so I usually offer to do that for people. If I finished it, it's a gift, and it's going on their wall or something, then I will offer to frame it for them because I want to get that thing behind glass as soon as possible. You can give it to them in a folder if they're going to take it to a framer's. I just give them directions. Don't touch the surface of this thing. Don't smear it because you will. And framers know if you have it professionally framed, they know not to mess or touch the surface. They're very familiar. So those are my advice for finished works. Um, we can talk about sometime about photographing for prints or whatever if you want. That's a whole nother subject. It's not really the subject of this whole series, anyways, but I wanted to kind of take you from practice sketches, 5-minute sketches, all the way to a finished work of art that's a drawing. It's kind of a broad exposure to the full range of drawing and kind of everything I know about drawing. And I tell you what, when you do a drawing for someone of something that's incredibly meaningful to them, whether that be a pet or a loved one that they lost, uh, I've more often than not, it brings tears to their eyes that you put time and effort and care into something that means a great deal to them. And it does. A drawing, a grayscale black and white drawing, has a kind of timeless effect to it. And it says that whatever the subject matter was that you drew matters, that it matters to it mattered to you, it matters to them, it matters enough to hang up. So all of this goes to say, put the time and care into the prep and the process of creating this finished drawing for outcome that it deserves, because it's probably going to be incredibly valuable to you or to somebody if that's the purpose of doing it, if this isn't just another sketch in your sketchbook. And so those are all my kind of hacks on how I do a finished drawing. I think what we're gonna, you have your assignment, you're supposed to find the subject. I want you to go and do all this other stuff with it. Work your way through the process. In the comments, ask me questions that you're not sure of to figure this out. But push something all the way through this. Produce a drawing that you can hang up or you can give to somebody. That's my direction for you. Just do it. Uh, it's all theory until you sit down and actually do the thing. So do it. I'm going to do it as well. And I'll, as part of the next couple days, I will show you my process, what I just talked about, in probably time lapse as I go through this. These drawings tend to take a lot longer, but yeah, I want to kind of do this with you as I always have in this whole series. So look for that coming too. But this is pretty much everything I know about how to do a drawing for outcome. So I hope it's of some benefit to you. I hope you We'll have another day where we talk more about this, but I hope you bless other people with your skill that you've been working on. So I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me again today.